és egy olyan beszélgetést fogok bevezetni mindjárt, amiben gyakorlatilag az egészségkultúra lesz a téma. És aki előadja ezt a témát, és akivel aztán Pécsi Judit, az Unión HR igazgatója beszélgetni is fog, nem más, mint Jody Thompson, aki a Culture RX vezetője, úgyhogy welcome, és átadom a szót.
Today we're going to talk about creating a culture of success. What I mean by that is a work culture that is differentiated from any competitors in the search for attracting and retaining the best talent, all without any mention of workplace flexibility. We're going to throw flexibility back to 1990 where it belongs. We're experiencing quite a disruption with COVID-19. Now is the time to reinvent, not regress. Now is the time to look forward and finally evolve the institution of work. I'm Jody Thompson. I'm the CEO and founder of Culture RX. Over the past 15 years, the team at Culture RX has been guiding company cultures forward through the implementation and evolution of the results-only work environment, or ROE. I'm glad you're here. Human resource professionals are in a unique position right now to work with organizations to progress through this challenging time. Here's what I'd like you to walk away in the next 18 minutes. A radical contemporary perspective on what it means to approach our work. Your new mantra will be, manage the work, not the people. To anchor your new perspective, I'll be sharing with you only 2 action steps you'll need to apply now to begin creating a contemporary work culture, no matter what the current climate. These action steps are timeless. These actions speak to a whole new mindset about how we work, a cultural shift in the DNA of the workplace. McLean and Company showed in their 2019 trend report that culture is the #1 priority for HR professionals today. We need to advance culture now more than ever. But what this infographic doesn't show is how we should be moving our workplace cultures into the future. And flex work policies, work from home policies, fancy office compounds with dry cleaning services and ping pong tables do not advance work culture. Trust me, I've been there. In fact, those things actually contribute to making work suck. Why am I so blunt about how I feel about work? Because I'm tired of living in a world where our beliefs about work, how work is supposed to happen, and what truly motivates people to come together and produce an amazing product or service in the 21st century are not in sync. Make no mistake, COVID-19 has simply shined a bright spotlight on problems we've been able to unsolve for decades. Let me briefly illuminate for you what has made work suck for decades. I know you've all felt it from time to time, so let's dig a little deeper and see what's going on. The issue with how work happens can be boiled down to something I like to call the demands control conundrum. It works like this. You have many demands on your lives, things you want to do and things you need to do. Let's look at a few examples of our needs and wants. Some classic needs would be doing your laundry, feeding yourself and perhaps your family, cleaning, taking care of your health, and sleeping. Once you take care of your needs, now you're left with the things you want to do. Things like reading, exercising, spending time with friends, spending time outdoors, traveling, and more. Now here's where the conundrum comes down hard on us. When the demands in our lives exceed the level of control we have over our time, what do you imagine is the first thing to go in our lives? Do we quit showering and eating? No, we keep taking care of our needs. Where we end up compromising is on the things we want to do. So we stop going to the gym as much, maybe read less, go on fewer walks, and see our friends less. And how do you imagine that makes us feel? Totally stressed out. And why, as capable adults, are we finding it impossible to get everything done? Because for full-time hours every week, someone else is telling us where to be and when to be there. And now with COVID-19, parents and guardians of school-age kids find themselves pulled in multiple directions with the stress of schoolwork competing with their bosses and managers at work. The educational needs of their children are in direct conflict with the rules and regulations of work. Zoom work meetings coincide with kids' Zoom classes, while homework questions interrupt the workday, and recess is now parent supervised. We need to stop thinking in terms of the workplace and instead evolve our thinking to focus on empowering the workforce. And as I just said, HR professionals like yourselves and the business leaders you support are poised right now to shift the focus from heavily managing work location to primarily managing the work. Remember your mantra: manage the work, not the people. Daniel Pink, in his book Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us, says that autonomy leads to engagement, not flexibility. We want to have control over our lives, and when we do, we achieve more and live richer lives. Managing people's time, schedule, and work location reinforces the command-control management style of the 20th century. The work culture remains one of entitlement versus opportunity. Right now, it's so important that leaders ensure that post-COVID re-entry plans are not further reinforcing the idea of the workplace and instead empowering a workforce focused on results. What I just said is very important, so I'm going to say it again. The future of work isn't the status quo workplace as the default location for all work, but rather it's a focus on empowering the workforce by evolving work culture in a whole new way. Work from home is not a revolution or the new normal. It's simply a new variation of an old way of working. Are you ready to see the move forward solution? This is the mindset required for the future of work. A contemporary culture of success is built on two things. Each person is accountable and autonomous. This core foundation requires a shift in mindset that ultimately changes the behaviors that have anchored and reinforced the traditional workplace for decades. When you're accountable, you are responsible and answerable. You're responsible to deliver your agreed upon measurable results, and you're answerable to your team, your manager, the customer, and others that are helping you move the work forward. When you're autonomous, you're self-directed and independent. No asking permission on where and when to work. You know your job and are where you need to be when you need to be there to deliver. If you're not, then it's a performance fail, not tardiness or absenteeism or words like that. Those are terms for school children, not the adult workplace. This is true for salaried and hourly employees. It's true for location-specific and non-location-specific roles. A culture built on autonomy and accountability levels the playing field. Everyone is accountable to measurable results and has the autonomy to effectively and efficiently achieve those results. No micromanaging required in the adult workplace. A culture built on accountability and autonomy for every person requires a shift in mindset, really a rethinking of how we manage and how we communicate. The future of leadership is one where managers manage work, not people. That is your contemporary mantra. Manage the work, not the people. Let's take a look at what that means. In a culture of success, the manager is not fielding or responding to these questions or statements. They are not part of an evolved management style. And when everyone is fully accountable and autonomous, these questions and statements are not a relevant artifact in the culture, so they stop. Management style goes from one of permission granting, which is subjective, to performance guiding, which is the work and is objective. If you're accountable and autonomous and you ask, can I work from home on Friday or can I take Friday off this week? Your manager will say, I don't know, can you? You know best because the work is yours and you own it. And if you're thinking, well, people let us know where they are as a courtesy, they don't need to ask permission. Do your employees let you know where they are and what they're doing as a courtesy at night and on the weekends? Hey, just wanted to let you know I'm doing a little work this morning before I go grocery shopping. No, and they don't need to do that during core business hours. If they need to let you know where they are as a courtesy, you're still granting permission, and you're reinforcing that work happens at a certain time and in a certain location. Again, talking about work time, work location, and work schedule instead of just talking about the work. Here's what managing people versus managing work looks like in practice. Let's look at the thinking of a manager who is managing people. I wonder what time Jill will be logging on today. She's been logging on late several times this week. Susan is working from home for the foreseeable future. I'll check her schedule a few times a week just to make sure she's got stuff going on and is actually working. I've noticed that Jason has worked late for the last several weeks, and calendar shows he's in all kinds of meetings. He's a really hard worker, maybe even promotion worthy. Wow, now let's contrast that with a manager who is managing results and not managing people. I'm not wondering at all what time Jill logs in. I'm not wondering at all if she'll even be available. I know she's on track to meet her deadlines. Since she and I communicate clearly about the work, I know she can and will get it done. I don't think about Susan's work location because it's irrelevant. She and I communicated yesterday about a deadline she was determining was at risk. We mobilized the team to ensure the customer would get what they needed. I haven't even noticed that Jason has been working late. I did notice, however, that he missed his last deadline without letting anyone know, and it caused a customer disappoint. I've reached out to him so that he can share with me what he's planning on doing differently next time so that this doesn't happen again. If every day you're waking up wondering what time Bob is available, you're managing people. But if you're clear on what Bob needs from you so that he can deliver on a project, then you're managing the work. If every day you're aware of who's in the office and who is not, you're managing people. But if every day you're keeping track of what your team needs from you and by when, you're managing the work. Okay, now, you can see clearly the difference between managing work and managing people. So we're going to examine how we communicate with each other and rethink that. So here we go. The language of a workplace keeps the culture stable. It cannot overcome inertia if this language exists. Listen carefully and pay attention to what the focus is on. Is it the work or the results of the work? Is it supporting a culture of autonomy and accountability? Or is it supporting a culture where the time clock and work location is the primary measure of work?
Boy, those smokers get a lot of breaks.
Now that we're all working from home, those golfers are really having a field day.
People are calling out sick all the time now because their kids are home. Wish I had a kid.
I wish I could work out in my home gym twice a day during core working hours.
How did Bob get a promotion? He's never available on Skype.
Did you see what time Jill logged off yesterday? She never puts in 40 hours anymore.
Oh boy, this language is toxic. It judges people on things that aren't about the actual work. It makes people feel guilty and stressed out, and it's not helpful at all. Let's look at how communication can be reimagined to shift the language to results and accountability. These communication techniques can help us move the culture forward towards one that is more productive and effective. First, think about what you need and when you need it. Then, use technology to reach out and ask for it. You don't need to know if someone is available or when they're working. You don't need to know where they're working from. You don't need to know if they're taking their dog for a walk or petting their cat or taking a nap or at a conference. It's irrelevant. If everyone operates this way, clearly communicating what they need and when they need it, the entire culture becomes more planful, No ASAP. No sometimes next week. No when you can. That is all ambiguous, and people cannot plan effectively in a sea of ASAPs. In fact, I like to think of ASAP as all stop and ponder. Nobody knows clearly what is expected, so everyone is stalled and stressed. They're trying to figure out whose ASAP is really important and whose ASAP can be put off. This is completely insane, and it's bogging down work all over the globe. And it causes everyone to focus instead of showing up and putting in time and looking busy as a measure of work. We've reached the end, and now it's time to take a look at your 2 action steps, the only steps you need to take right now to start change in motion to create a more effective workforce. First, shift your thinking. Work isn't a place you go, it's something you do. And that is true for everyone. In a culture of autonomy and accountability, everyone will choose activities that lead to measurable results for the customer and reject activities that waste time. In a traditional world, we all get up, get ready, and go to work, whether we're working in an office, at home, or anywhere else. And then we fill time with activities. Instead, think first about what needs to get done and then decide how you're going to go about doing it. Filling time wastes time. And I'm going to say that again. Filling time wastes time. Second, listen to your language. Be crystal clear with your communication. Be specific on what needs to get done and when it needs to get done. Begin holding people accountable to clearly what is expected. No ambiguity. If you and everyone else in your organization has 15 emails in their inboxes with requests that are ambiguous, asking for something ASAP or next week or when you can, how can anyone plan? How do you prioritize? How can you hold people accountable? How can people hold each other accountable? That's stressful. By taking only these 2 steps, you'll be amazed at how the idea of the workplace starts to evolve and mindsets will shift. And in the end, it's better for business, for people, and for community. So we're going to have a discussion right now about what you've heard today. Judith and I are going to get together here, and I'm going to turn on my camera, and you can turn on yours too if you want, and let's have a discussion about the future of work.
Hello, Jody. I would like to jump in. Can you hear me?
Excellent. I can hear you.
Perfect. It's a real pleasure to have you here. It's a really big day for us as well, not just for you guys in the States because of the elections. So what's the situation
Correct.
like in Minnesota now in terms of the elections?
Well, we're all, holding our breath and hoping for a good outcome. So it's pretty stressful.
We are totally with you in that as well.
Thank you. That's good to hear.
We are looking forward to questions in the chat. And if you don't have the time to answer, is it okay to forward the questions to you and I will get back to the participants with the answer? Would that be okay with you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
It was a really inspiring presentation. And if I have to sum it up in one word, I would say it's all about trust. So do I trust my company to measure me in my results and not in my time? And as a company, do I trust the employees to produce the same results, even if I don't control them? I think it's really scary on both sides. How do you overcome fear?
So, Judith, I think you're on something that's very fundamental, and that is when we're not clear, all of us, on what we're being held accountable to in terms of measurable results, what we default to is time and location. So people will show up and they'll put in their time, and that is the old currency of work. When we take that away and everybody needs to focus clearly on what they need to do and when they need to do it, what happens in the culture is people hold each other accountable both vertically and horizontally. I hold you accountable, you hold me accountable, our manager holds us accountable, and the whole spirit of the organization starts to lift because we're all really to do and we're measured on. You know, I have to tell you this and tell your audience this. I've been in front of a lot of groups as we implement the environment, and we hear from people is most people are unclear about what they were actually hired to in terms of measurable results. So that's the problem with work right now. We're letting showing up and doing time cloud us from what we were really hired to do. So that autonomy piece is very important.
So are you saying, Jody, that since we are absolutely not clear about the measurable results, we measure what we can, and that's time and location?
Correct. And that's what managers look for. Are people available? But that's, it clouds us from really getting clear about what the real work is. And people today in the adult workplace can make better decisions about their entire life if they can control all of their time. Not asking permission to work from home, not asking permission to leave early, not asking permission to go to the dentist. We don't need to do that. If we're communicating clearly what we need and when we need it, we can all plan our days every day of our lives in a much more efficient and effective manner. And I like what you said, Judith, about trust. We can't build trust if we're not clear about what we need and then get it from people, right? We don't trust each other because we're all in a state of unclear. And so we get scared and we get nervous and we think, oh, somebody else is getting something better than I am. I mean, I wish I could, work from home every day, all week. We get really jealous and envious and upset by watching how other people are getting more than we are. Results only work environment levels the playing field. We're all on the same playing field. We're free, we're liberated, and we get crystal clear on results and we deliver them together.
I heard you once say that something that I really liked, that you said that flexible schedule is an oxymoron. And I just love that statement so much. Can you elaborate it for us, please?
Yes, flexible schedule. Now think about that for a minute. If you have a schedule, you're not flexible, okay? It's so funny when we think about flexibility, it's really a problem because once you have a schedule and you ask to change it, you've gone from one box to another. So now if I ask to have Tuesdays, to work from home, and all of a sudden I need to switch it to Wednesday, I still have to ask permission. So it's not flexible. It's really interesting today that we still believe that flexibility is what people want. What people want is control over their time. That's what people really want. But yes, it's an oxymoron. If you're in a schedule, you're not flexible.
We've got an excellent question coming in the chat. Where does the process start when you make the transition, the shift to RAW, to work only, to the results only work environment?
Well, I'm sure that your HR audience knows this is difficult. There's so many things that hold culture stable, and to actually shift ourselves to a results-only focus takes a lot of different ways of overcoming an old belief system. So what we do when we work with organizations is we start with understanding who you are, what your value system is, what your language is like, and then we take people through a journey to help them rewire their brains, shift their mindset, and think in an entirely different way. So it's a process, and then it requires coaching to help people keep moving forward and not slide back into the 20th century. So it's quite a process, but it is fun and it is exhilarating.
How do you go about rewiring brains? So we are at this point that we know that work is not what we know today, but it will change a lot. So we know that we all need to start training people for new things. If you want to make this shift to row, what are the things that you feel important that we should rewire the brains and train people for?
One of the things that we talk to organizations about is something we call sludge. And sludge is judging other people about how they spend their time. So I might say, wow, I wish I had a kid and could leave early every day. So what we have to do with that language is we have to take that kind of thinking out of the culture. So if I say, where were you yesterday, Judith? Because I didn't see you in the office, or I didn't see you online. Where were you yesterday? You wouldn't come back and start explaining to me, well, I had a dentist appointment and then this and that, and you know, making all sorts of justifications. We break that. We do an environmental sludge eradication strategy to shift that language out of the culture because it does not fit in the future of work. We have to stop judging people about how they spend their time. And when we do that, then we all feel like we have more control over our time and we're not getting judged for the wrong things. So that's one little piece of the row process and rewiring of the brain.
And I think
there's many others, but that's
another that really, you know, shouts clear and loud in my ear is rewarding. So what are we rewarding? We are rewarding people showing up at work and putting in extra hours. That's how we promote people. So it's a very complex cultural issue, what you're talking about. It's about trust, reward, as you said, judging. What is the number one step if an organization today gets inspired to shift to row? What's the number one step you would advise us to do?
I would say the first step is to contact us because this is an adaptive change and it's not easy. What we've noticed, Judith, that's been very interesting over the past 15 years is the organizations that try to do it themselves and figure it out are having a hard time and they're slipping back to the 20th century mindset. So there's a process that people have to go through to adapt and be adaptable to this new way of thinking. So people can start by those 2 steps that I talked about. Just start right now communicating more clearly with you. If sending out an email and you're saying, hey, Judith, can you get that to me next week? That's ambiguous. I can say, when do I really? That kind of thing will start changing culture. Everybody being crystal clear about what you need and when you need it. If you ask me for something and you're not clear, I'm going to come back to you and let you know when I can get it for you. And if that's good for you, then we've made a pact that we're going to get that done together at that certain time. So clearly communicating is a very important step. No ambiguity into starting to shift culture. That one thing will do a lot for you.
All right, so clear communication, this is something we definitely take home today. And I got the signal that we need to finish for today, but I'm encouraging everyone, please keep typing the questions and we will get back to Jody and get back to you with the answers. And Jody, we are going to talk about row tomorrow as well. We're going to have a practical example. Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation will show us how they did it. So there will be ongoing talk about row and about the culture of success tomorrow as well. And I want to thank you for your time and your input. And I'm looking forward to continuing the communication with you. Thank you so much for being us for here.
You're welcome. It was fun, and have fun tomorrow talking to CMHC. You'll learn a lot from them. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Bye, everyone.